Today's video is brought to you by me, Jeff Hicks, and my new book, Tits and Art. Tits and Art, or TNA, is my new annual project. It's a big 11 by 17 full-color book busting out with beautiful women and beautiful art. Sign-ups are live now, and it's only live for 30 days, guaranteed delivery by Christmas. Sign up today, link in the description below.
The following is a world-class Bullshitters exclusive.
So for the last 4 episodes, not a lot has happened in Andor, but thankfully, things are starting to pick up with episode 5. Andor's been a lot better than what came before it, especially Obi-Wan in the Book of Boba Fett. Every week you've heard me talk in my reviews about how good the show looks, and this episode is no different. Episode 5 of Andor is nice looking. The world is lush and verdant. The special effects where the CGI is used looks great. It's integrated well into the world. There's not really a lot to say in terms of the effects and the action because, well, quite frankly, there's not a lot of action yet, but that's still not the world's worst thing. Andor and his crew of rebels are about to take the payroll from the Imperial crew, but it hasn't happened yet. What we find out is there is a mole inside the Empire. The reason he wanted to betray the Empire was given, and it's a pretty good one. They caused him to lose out on some booty. And you know what? We would all give up on a cause if that was the case. So I don't judge the guy. But most of the episode is spent with Cassian Andor learning to trust or not trust his new group of friends, and we use friends very loosely. Again, the acting's good. No one in the crew is bad. There's the stereotypical tempers flare high and all that stuff, but it's entertainment. Why would you want it any other way? Outside of the rebels that are about to take on the Imperials, in this episode you learn about the Imperial mole, the defector if you will, and his character is kind of interesting. Every time you see an Imperial officer in the classic Star Wars, it's yes sir, right away sir, the Emperor is coming, we must double our efforts. You get that kind of Imperial hierarchy. You also watch this guy let these Imperial officers slide. There's a weird level of humanity added to the Empire. Not every soldier is a face behind a mask. There's a little bit of personality and character to them. Now remember, these are the bad guys. They don't try to humanize the bad guys and make them seem like a shade of gray. But they show them be people for a minute, and that's refreshing. Because this is a war, and you have to understand that wars have two sides. And yes, we're all firmly planted on the side of the Rebel Alliance and all that is good and just. But the people on the Empire side have to believe what they're doing, so it's kind of nice to see that in effect. Also, this episode features a lot of world building. You see the disgraced security officer interact with his mother. And she's a very stereotypical mother. She wants to know, what are your prospects? What are you going to do with your future? This, that, and the other. And while some may not like this scene because it seems like it's too real and boring, but it adds some real world building to Star Wars. This entire conversation happens over a bowl of cereal, blue milk included. It's nice to just see more living spaces in Star Wars. That's why I love the first Star Wars so much. It's believable. You relate to the characters. You see Luke Skywalker's home. You know where he's coming from, where he's going on this journey. I don't need to see where everybody sleeps and shits in Star Wars, but it is nice to see that not everything is action scene, not everything is Jedi training, not everything is random stilted garbage. Sometimes the quiet moments are important, and Cassian Andor has been 5 episodes of a pretty quiet moment, but again, it's been enjoyable. And the reason this is so much more enjoyable is because of the pacing of the episode. It's a solidly paced episode. Nothing really drags. Again, that's really the benefit of Andor. If you have a 39-minute episode of everything being interesting and nothing dragging, you don't need a gunfight every episode. Would I prefer one? Of course, I'd love to see gunfights, explosions, spaceship fights. But with Andor, it's okay that we're not getting it yet because it's all building towards something. And that's the Star Wars way, building towards something. And the opposite of building is tearing down, destroying, and what we're watching get destroyed in Andor is Mon Mothma's marriage, which is a small portion of the episode, but I find it enjoyable. It's interesting to see what both sides are willing to lose for their beliefs in the cause. She's going to lose a family, her husband and her daughter don't like her or respect her. There's a scene at breakfast which, hold on a second, most of this show takes place over multiple breakfasts. You see the security guard's breakfast, you see her breakfast. You might even see Andor's breakfast over a fire. That's kind of the theme. We're all building towards something, this one big event, and we're watching the players get closer and closer to the event. Like Andor himself says, the day before all you can do is worry. Now, the only thing I'm going to really worry about with Andor is the oppression everywhere line. And I'm not going to read too much into it, but by the actors' words themselves, Andor is going to reflect the modern American lifestyle. Now, this episode has reflected a galaxy far, far away, a long time ago, and I've enjoyed it. I'm really hoping that does not become the case with Andor, because if they can keep this right now at this pace, at this level of quality, I don't think you're going to bring anyone back to Disney Star Wars, but I don't think this show can turn anyone off from Disney Star Wars. The things so far in the first 5 episodes that have happened have not been as offensive or heinous like the sequel trilogy. That thing really is a mistake in the making, but why am I going to spend time complaining about it? You've already heard me say that. One of the final things I'd like to say about this episode of Andor is the Indiana Jones references. Last week you saw Indiana Jones's whip frozen in carbonite, and this week the Shankara stones make an appearance in Andor. If you haven't seen the episode and you were going to watch it anyway, make sure you look in the top right-hand side of your screen when Stellan Skarsgård's character is trying to use a radio. You'll see the Shankara stones multiple times. And so now obviously this is all planned, but I wonder if they're just trying to get everyone excited and ready for Indiana Jones 5. Folks in the chat, if you find more Indiana Jones Easter eggs, let me know. I don't forgive Disney Star Wars for what they've done, but I really like Indiana Jones. But then again, I have to remember, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull happened. So folks, what did you think of this week's Andor? I try to keep these short and vague so I don't give too many spoilers, but I'm also not trying to get you to go out and spend your money and sign up for Disney Plus just out of this recommendation. Like I always say, if you have a contentious relationship with Disney Star Wars, I understand. If you cannot allow yourself to give you another dime of your money over to the mouse, I don't judge you whatsoever. All I'll say is this: if you have access to this show and you are going to watch it anyway, it's been solid, and this one continues that solid trajectory. This is like what Rogue One is to The Force Awakens. If you're like me and hate everything The Force Awakens was, but enjoyed Rogue One, then you're probably going to like Andor. But if you don't like slower-paced Star Wars without Jedi, the Force, Sith, or any of that part of the Star Wars universe, Andor may not be for you. It's more of a political drama, action series, and it's going somewhere, we just don't know yet. Actually, we do. We know exactly how this show ends, with Cassian Andor and Jyn Erso dying on Scarif after they uploaded the Death Star plans. And then the Death Star plans get taken over to Princess Leia, who puts them in R2-D2, who sends them to Ben Kenobi, who then takes Luke Skywalker to the Death Star. They eventually blow up that Death Star, and then, well, the Death Star comes back again, and they blow that one up too, thanks to Lando Calrissian. So folks, what I'm trying to say is, I know the trajectory of this story, I know where these characters are going, and for the first time, it's a fun ride. So do with this information what you will, but make sure you join us on Thursday night for our live show, where we'll talk about this and a whole lot more. On Tuesday, the High Council will be back. And the most important thing to take away from this is this episode was brought to you by Tits and Art, my newest book. Check the link in the description below. If you like comics, fantasy, horror, movie posters, well, then you're going to love Tits and Art. It's all of those things rolled up into one with beautiful, beautiful, busty women. The campaign hasn't even reached its halfway mark, and we're at the 400 and something% goal. So folks, get yourselves a copy. I'm feeling so good that I'm going to eventually release that Terminator cover, so be on the lookout for that. Go to titsandart.com for all your information and a whole lot more. But from me, Jeff Hicks, I just want to say this. Thank you for watching. Be smart, be safe, be cool, but always be excellent to each other. Thanks for watching today's video. Yes, it's over, but don't cry, because there's more, a lot more from World Class Bullshitters. And there's only one way to get it. Hit that subscribe button below. When you do that, you'll get notifications and updates from World Class Bullshitters every time we go live. Basically, you won't miss anything. And if there's one thing I hate, it's FOMO. But the thing most people hate more than FOMO is fear of missing out on World Class Bullshitters, because there's just some things you can't undo. So folks, do yourselves a favor and never miss anything from World Class Bullshitters. One last thing before you go, hit the thumbs up button. Not for our egos, no, they're big enough as this, but it does help us fight the algorithm here, and, well, it's man versus machine, and that's the real fight. But if that's not your battle, that's okay. There's one last way you can help WCBS, and that's going over to shopwcbs.com, picking up a t-shirt, a beer glass, a sweatshirt, a poster, all sorts of ways to back WCBS. The difference between us and other YouTube channels is I'm the artist that makes all this stuff, so if you enjoy art beyond t-shirts, you can even read our comic books. We got it all. We're called the epitome of pop culture for a reason, and no, again, it's not for our egos. So folks, make sure you're involved with every aspect of World Class Bullshitters, not just for us, but do it for yourself. We're making the change in entertainment everybody out there wants to see. And a special thank you goes out to all of our wonderful patrons who make this content possible. Go to patreon.com/worldclassbs to get involved and help out the channel.